And pew. Hello everybody. Today we're gonna make friendship bread, Amish friendship bread starter. So very first thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna take Fleischmann's dried active dry yeast, and you're gonna add it to some hot water. The water should be about 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So this has to sit for 10 minutes. So I am gonna get this into that water right now. And that is going to be a quarter cup of hot water that you're going to put it into, 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to put that in there first before I start telling you about this and before we get into the different ingredients and stuff like that. So first thing you're going to do, you're going to put that active dry yeast into some warm water, mix it around a little bit. Oh, and try not to use any kind of spatulas or anything that are metal. You're going to want to use, like this is a silicone one. You can use a wooden one if you want. Just don't use metal. Don't use metal for any of this. So just mixing, stirring that up a little bit so that it is all mixed up. And I'm going to just set that aside for right now. Alright, so while that's sitting there, I'm going to tell you about what is friendship bread starter. So friendship bread, it's like a sweet sourdough bread. But you have to have a starter. You're going to take this starter, you're going to feed it, you're going to squish it every day for 10 days, you're going to do all kinds of stuff to it. But you need to get this starter ready first, and it's got to sit around for that 10 days, and you're going to do all that stuff to it. And at the end of it, you're going to break it up into 4 equal parts. You're going to make one of them. So one of them is going to be your bread. And then you're supposed to give, you know, you could keep a second one. So now you have a starter that you could feed again and start the whole thing over. And then you're going to give the other 2 away. It's where the friendship part comes in. It's what the Amish do. They take it, they make it, they share it with the community. All right, so what do you need? You need, like I said, active dry yeast. You're going to take that and you're going to put it in some warm water to begin with. The water should be about 110 degrees just to get this activated. Then you're going to need 1 cup of flour. So I'm going to grab that right now. I have it sitting right over here. Just going to scoop it. I have it in my big flour bucket from when I made a bunch of stuff. So we're going to grab a cup of flour. Just kind of level it off nice. Let's put that into a bowl right here. So I got my bowl. I'm going to put 1 cup of flour. Doesn't take a lot of ingredients to get it started. You really just need flour, you need sugar, you need milk, you need yeast. So I'm getting my 1 cup of flour in there right now. Then I'm also gonna need 1 cup of granulated white sugar. So I'll scoop that out of my bucket. I have that over here. I have a big clump in it, so I gotta knock the big clump off. But again, 1 cup of flour. This is just regular granulated sugar that I have in my big mason jar. So you're going to take, you already got your 1 cup of flour in there, regular white flour. Then you're going to take your cup of sugar. You're going to dump that in with the flour. And you're going to take your non-metallic scooper, whisk, whatever you want to mix it with, a big spoon, a big wooden spoon, whatever works for you, grab that. Then you're going to take your, this is silicone, the one I'm using, so you could use silicone as well. You're going to take that and you're going to just stir up the flour and the sugar just to get it sort of incorporated with each other so that it's like nice and mixed up. Take it, mix it around. And like I said, you can use, if you have a wooden spoon or if you have a whisk that is silicone but not metal, you could use that. Right now we're just taking the 1 cup of flour and the 1 cup of sugar, and we're just blending it together right now because we're going to add, I think the next thing we need to add is milk. So we have milk, and then while we're doing all this, in the beginning, in case anybody missed it, I put dry yeast, active dry yeast, in water, warm water that was like 110 degrees. Just to get it activated, just to get it ready for the final step of this. So that's what we're doing right now. We're doing the rest of the steps while that 10 minutes is going on. So after you have your sugar and your flour sort of mixed, just so that it's all mixed together. Again, 1 cup of each. 1 cup granulated sugar, 1 cup white flour. Mix that together, mix it, mix it, mix it. Now it's all mixed up. So now it's looking good. You got that in a glass bowl. Again, don't use a metal bowl. You could use, if you have a wooden bowl, you could do that. And at the end of it, when everything is all said and done, at the end, when it's all mixed up, you're going to leave it in this bowl. You're not going to refrigerate it. You're going to just leave it in this bowl. You're going to leave it somewhere that's like, I guess, a little warmish. Yeah, and you're going to leave it out there. Don't refrigerate it. And then you're going to see over the 10 days, you got to do stuff to it. You got to squish the bag to get the air out of it. You got to do other stuff too, which I'll update you every day so that you can sort of do it along with me. If you didn't catch this live from the beginning, I will download it when it's all said and done, and then I will upload it as a regular video. And I'll upload one every day as each step comes along. And then again, for anybody who missed it, at the end of it, after you mix all this stuff together and you have your starter done, 10 days from now, because it's got to sit around for 10 days, that's where the magic happens. At the end of those 10 days, you're going to split it up. That's why they call it Amish friendship bread, because some of it you're going to use to make your own bread. Some of it you're going to use to start this whole process all over. So in 10 days from that, you can do your own bread. You could share it or whatever. And then the other ones that you have left over at the end, you're going to give to someone. So now they take it and they add the stuff to it over the 10-day process. And then they have their own bread, which they divide and give. So that's why they call it friendship bread, because you're giving it away at the end. You're giving somebody a starter so that they can make their own set to give away to more people and make their own along the way. And you could even freeze this when it's all the way done at the end of the 10 days. If you're not ready to give it away, or if you're not ready to make it, at the end of the 10 days, you can freeze it for, I think, maybe up to 6 months, or 3 months. I don't know. I'll check that and I'll get back to you as I update it. But I know you can freeze it for months, just in case you're not ready to do the final step. When the final step comes, you can freeze it and then you can do it 3 months, 6 months later, whatever it is. But I'll get you that exact information later in the process. Okay, so now we have our 1 cup of flour and our 1 cup of sugar. So regular flour, regular sugar, white flour and sugar. That's all mixed up. We're waiting for the yeast to activate. So we have it in a 1/4 cup of 110-degree Fahrenheit warm water, so that it's getting all ready now to do its magic. And then that should actually be ready in a few minutes. And then, yes, so anybody who missed the story, you make this, you give it away to some people, and you make your own bread, hence the name friendship bread. So you're kind of spreading the love around, and you're getting a chance to make your own bread as well. The process does take 10 days, but in 10 days from now, it'll be 10 days anyhow. So if you start it now, in 10 days, you can either have bread or you could have nothing. So you might as well make it now, and then you'll have some bread. And it's actually really good. It's not like regular, it's not like a regular bread. It's like a sweet bread. So it's almost, and like you can put butter on it and make toast. You could do jelly on it. It's almost like a dessert type of bread, but don't quote me on that because it's not really that desserty, but it's not a regular bread. It's not just a regular boring bread at the end of it. It's actually really good. It's got some taste to it. You can add yogurt to it, I think, at the end of it. Not yogurt. You can add pudding to the end of it at the end. Dry pudding, like the packets. And that also changes the flavor. It makes it very moist. But again, as we get further into the process and as these days roll on, I'll show you, today is day 1. Blah, blah, blah. You do this. Today is day 2. Whatever. So we'll be doing that over the 10 days. All right, so now I believe my yeast should be just about done because it's got to be almost 10 minutes now that I've been on here. You can do it longer than 10 minutes to let it like activate a little bit more, but I just worked 10 hours and I want to make this bread and I want to go eat. So I'm getting ready for the next step. So now we got our yeast dissolving in water and you're going to let that sit for 10 minutes minimum. While you're waiting, you're going to mix your flour and your sugar. For anybody who's just joining, that's all we did. It's very simple. There's only, like 4 or 5 basic ingredients for it. No eggs, nothing like that. Okay, so now that we have this ready, I believe I'm gonna take my milk, which is, where did I put that paper? Which is 1 cup of milk. Regular, just white milk. So now I'm just gonna take that milk and I'm gonna dump it into the flour and sugar. And I'm just gonna take my thing and I'll bend the camera down so that you can see what it looks like. It's really just mixing flour, sugar, and milk, but let's take a look, shall we? Okay, so now you're gonna just mix it up. Get it all together. And if you see that big bruise on my hand, I pinched my finger at work today, so just ignore that. Mixing it. Again, anybody just joining, or if you're watching the replay of this, because I am also going to download it at the end and then post it as a regular post on my page. What we're doing is we're mixing flour, sugar, and milk right here. And then we're waiting for this yeast and water to activate. So 10 minutes, put the yeast, the active dry yeast, you're going to take it, you're going to put it in a bowl of water. I think it's a 1/4 cup of water, and warm water. It's got to be like 110 degrees Fahrenheit so that it will activate it. So while we're waiting for this to get activated, which will be ready any minute now, we're just taking flour, sugar, and milk. A cup of flour, a cup of sugar, and a cup of milk. We're adding it in here. Oh, and yes, like I said before, in case anybody missed it, you've got to make sure that when you're mixing this, the bowl that you're mixing it in is not metal. It's just not good for it, and it won't work out properly. So you're going to want to use a glass bowl, or I believe you can, yeah, you can. You can also use plastic. Like if you have a plastic bowl you want to put it in, you can put it in a wooden bowl, which is preferred. The utensils that you're using also don't use metal. Like you could see the spatula that I'm using right here. This guy is silicone, because that is not metal. So that's what I chose to do mine with. But you could also get a silicone whisk if you want to use it. I'm just using a regular scraper tool and just sort of blending everything together. It'll still work. It might take a little longer, but it's fine. You can use wood. So if you have a big wooden spoon or a big wooden fork or a wooden whisk, which I never heard of, but you never know what's out there, you could use that too. So wood utensils, silicone utensils, no metal utensils, because the metal utensils will not work properly and you will not get a good end result. Okay, just mixing it all together, making sure that it's pretty much blended together, that there's no like giant lumps in it and stuff. Although as the days go on, you're going to see part of the steps that you need to do is going to be to squish the bag. So that will also like get the lumps out of it and stuff too. But you don't want to have a big massive amount of lumps in it to begin with. So just try to smooth it out as much as you can. You can see it's pretty smooth. I'm sure you see little things floating around in it, but that's normal. You're always going to have that. Okay, so now the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our yeast that's been sitting here for the last 10 minutes in warm water, 110 degrees water. We're going to take that and we're going to add that to it as well. So slowly just stir that into the mix. Let's get this mixed up a little bit better. Okay, so now this is the last step for now. You're going to take the yeast that we put aside before. Got to put yeast, active dry yeast, in a 1/4 cup of water, warm water, 110 degrees, just to make it activate. Let it sit there for 10 minutes, just in case anyone's just getting here. Okay, so now we're going to take that yeast and we are going to just slowly pour it in there. Just mix everything around. There we go. And take your spatula or whatever you're using and just scrape everything out of there so that you have all the yeast that you need, because it's going to, you know, when you put yeast in bread, obviously it helps it rise, it makes it get bigger, it adds air to it so it doesn't get stale. Okay, so now that our yeast is ready, we're going to just mix this bad boy together over here. Mix them up, mix them up, mix them up. And then, oh, he smells really good actually. He smells like bread. And then at the very end, I'm just gonna take my spatula, put that aside. You can use obviously anything that's wooden for anybody who's just joining now. And then now that we're at the end of it, what we're gonna do is put our spatula to the side. We're gonna take a sheet of saran wrap and we're just gonna lay it right over and just cover that bad boy up. That's it. And you'll see, so this is actually day 1 of this thing. This thing takes 10 days until it's fully done, until it's fully ready. So now that this is day 1, you're going to just leave it and you'll see this plastic, a good way to know that it's working and that your yeast is not dead, because yeast is actually alive. So if you get a bad batch, it's not going to work. So a good rule of thumb is to just sort of close it up the best you can, and you should see this saran wrap rise. It should bubble up a little bit. That means that the yeast is being active. That means that the yeast is alive. It's producing gas, which is the bubbles that you see when you eat bread come from yeast. So now you're just going to sit there. Well, you're not going to sit there. You're not going to sit there for 10 days. So you're just going to cover it with that saran wrap. And then you're going to set it aside. Do not put it in the refrigerator. That will stop the yeast from being active, and it just won't get done. So you're going to take it, you're going to put it somewhere in like a cupboard or maybe on a counter somewhere that it's not going to really be disturbed a lot, and where it's not going to be cold. This way the yeast gets a chance to do its yeasty stuff. And that's it. So tomorrow I'll come back and I will show you the next step. I'm also going to download this live, so if you missed parts of it, it will be posted to my regular page as just a regular uploaded video when I'm allowed to. You have to wait for it to process and yada yada because it's alive. So when that is done, I will post it, and then every day I'll give updates so that you know what to do for the next step, because there are 10 steps. So thank you everybody for watching. I appreciate you, and I hope that you will come back during the week so that we can finish this up together. Thank you everybody. I appreciate you. Thank you for all the love, and thank you for stopping by. I'll see you soon. Bye everybody. Thank you.